Hey, what's up, everybody? And thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name, of course, is Chris Martinez. I am the CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so they can take on more websites and scale profitably. Today, I am joined by Chris, or as you probably know him, Mercer. He's a measurement marketer. Very, very exciting to have you on the show. Welcome, sir. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. So yeah, I do go by Mercer because there's always another Chris in the room. And this gets to be my first podcast where that is actually a thing.
Not only that, we share the same initials. What's your middle name?
We do John. So it's
okay,
CJM.
so see, I'm a CRM.
Oh, okay. But I like that. That's very marketer driven. I like that.
You know what's funny? There was actually a gang in my neighborhood when I was growing up, and they were called CRM. So you would see CRM tagged up on the walls back in the hood. Yeah.
Thanks for the honor. Yeah.
Exactly. I was like, yes, I'm here. Please don't kill me. Awesome, man. Well, you're coming to us live from Austin, Texas. So really, really cool city. So let's talk about our why am I blanking on the name of it? Our current event, like our roundtable discussion. I don't know. I just had to walk like 10 miles in the heat. So like I'm dehydrated and like, I don't know if you can tell, but my shirt's all sweaty. So yes, our roundtable discussion, and you and I share the same passion for movies. And you were telling me before we went live that one of your guilty pleasures is to go to the movies in the middle of the day and kind of like unwind. So that's pretty cool. Like, where did that come from?
That's a good question. I don't know, but I can tell you, I think what I get out of it, which is why I like it so much, is, and maybe it was like back in the day when you're working for corporate America, like that's just not a thing. So there's that kind of like, oh, you get to be bad a little bit. So there's maybe a little bit of that going on.
The rebel in you.
Yeah, exactly. But I think for me, it is, and I said guilty pleasure because I don't do it all the day. So when my staff listens to this, I want to be like, I'm not doing this all day, guys. It's not, this is an occasional thing, just so you know. But there are times where I block off in the calendar, like I'm working on some stuff, and it might be for a 4-hour block, and that's how you know, right? And so I'll it's like this is my flex time,
Yeah, okay. Cool.
But to be fair, like I work at night weekends, so I'll balance it.
It's apologize. Go to the movies.
Right. So we get it. We get it. So I go to this. There's a place in Austin called the Alamo. There's one called like Flicks, and there are all these sort of movie theaters that have like bars and restaurants.
Oh,
and
cool.
A server there, like that sort of thing, which is my favorite way to go to a movie theater by far.
Of course.
And so I think here's what I like about it, and this was something that had always stuck with me. I don't know why this did, but it was some Tony Robbins thing where years ago he was talking about like gratitude or whatever, and he's like, listen, if you think about a movie, there are hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands, sometimes people that are working together to get these movies in place. Yep. And they spend hundreds of millions of dollars. They risk all this time. They put all this effort into it. And they only ask for you like $15. Right. And you get to experience all that finished project. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. So that's always stuck with me in terms of like movies and shows, like just how much effort goes into it. And honestly, like I'll look at it and I always remind myself of that, like that, this is just awesome. And I'm like, hey, thanks guys. So there's like that. And then there's a part of me that is enthralled because I don't have to do anything.
Yes.
Like, it's not like you're on call or there's going to be somebody who needs something from you or anything like that. You are blocked out. You're kind of forced to be blocked out because can't have your phone. You can't text, right? At least you shouldn't. But that's the thing. It's like, I have this excuse kind of, you know what it is? It's a structure. It's like a system. I'm very systems oriented. Yeah. It's a system that helps me disconnect from the other system, from the productivity role. And I just can be this and that's it. And so I can focus on, I think that idea of relaxing and recharging and just being in this moment, even if it's for, 2 hours or whatever it is. Yeah. So that's why I like it. I like it the most.
Do you consider yourself just like a good storyteller and like a creative person as well?
That's another good question. I would like to think that one day others will say that about me. Like I don't know that I am, to be honest. We teach a lot and we teach complicated stuff, right? Yeah. And so I've been forced to constantly go, okay, we just taught it like this. Next time, how do I do it simpler? Next time, how do I do it simpler? Next time, how do I do it simpler? And I think that mechanism is helping me to become a better storyteller. But the only way that I'm going to know that is if others, like, I'm very much like that. Like, I'll be speaking on stage and, somebody will come up to me and say like, oh, how did you do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, you tell me. Like, I want to know how the market responded. I'm very feedback oriented that way. Like,
Gotcha.
I don't care about my opinion. I want to know, like, what did you think? So what are others saying?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, one of the reasons why I love going to the movies, one is the nostalgia of it. Like, I'm like you, like, I love going to the theater. I like getting popcorn. I like getting like a little soda. I like sitting there, even if I'm surrounded by all these people who are loud. But the bigger thing is, like, I just love the stories. Like, I love getting immersed in a story. And I actually get a lot of creativity for my own business from watching movies.
Yeah.
So I try and find inspiration in everything. And so the movies, I do, like, for whatever reason, it does get my creative juices flowing, and I'm able to solve problems by watching some,
I do like finding the life lessons, like sometimes there's like the Avengers flick and you're just going just because, and you're like, this is great for the effects and like, that's amazing and whatever. And then sometimes there are those things where like, that was really cool. It gives me a different way to think about something, which I also like. Yep.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about your journey. So you run measurement marketing. It's measurementmarketing.io, right?
Correct. Yep.
So you do that, but your journey into this crazy world of running or of digital marketing started with a digital agency of your own, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk to us really quickly about how you got started in this crazy
the origin
industry.
story. Speaking of Avengers, here we go. So the way that I came into the world, so to speak, in the digital world, was I started a website called WP Training Videos, which was all about teaching people how to do WordPress videos. So I kind of started with the teaching thing in mind, which is the WordPress site to teach people how to do WordPress.
Yeah.
Well, first things first, we put up the stuff. All of a sudden, people go, "This is awesome, and how much for you to do it for me?"
Yeah.
Which I'd never considered, right? I just assumed everybody wants to learn how to do this. Well, it turns out, no, they want to pay you to do it. So I'm like, okay, we'll learn outsourcing, enter agency mode. So now I got to learn to be an agency, work with outsourcers, or you're obviously familiar with that.
Yeah.
And I start doing web dev and we start doing websites, but a lot of people were doing websites and they were starting, and WordPress was kind of getting commodified a little bit. So I wanted to separate ourselves out. So I said, okay, well, we're going to do websites, but we're going to optimize the websites, because back when we started, this thing called CRO, conversion rate optimization, was just becoming a thing in the US.
Totally.
And it was coming out of Europe, right? Because Europe ran out of traffic faster because they have less people. Like that's my, I can't prove that, but
interesting.
That's why they had to optimize first, because they didn't have as many. We had 300 million. It took us a while to have to do it.
Yeah.
So I get into CRO. We start doing conversion rate optimization. Well, in order to optimize an opt-in form or a conversion rate, you must first measure said opt-in form or conversion rate. So of course we enter Google Analytics. And so we came in, we started using Analytics like everybody else does, just throwing it on the page and then going and doing stuff, figuring it out.
Yeah.
And then things just didn't make sense. Like it doesn't if you do it like that. It's guaranteed not to make sense if you do it like that. So we go in there, we figure a few things out, we start learning how to do it, and we go, okay, wait a second. Okay, so we connect some dots, get a better useful story, a better useful truth, we call it back there. And then we would deliver these sites to clients, and it would be like, oh, here's your site, and here's your analytics, and here's where you can tell your opt-in forms and leads that you're getting and the purchases that you're making, yada, yada, yada. Well, all of a sudden, the conversation, when we started adding that component, the conversation with the clients went from, okay, wait a second, like forget about the website and the landing pages and the offers and all the other junk. Let's talk about the analytics. How did you do this? How did you get this goal set up? Could you set this up for me? And then our referrals almost overnight went from everybody saying, hey, I heard you do the websites, go ahead and do a website, to, hey, yeah, we already got a website, but can you tell me how to do the analytics thing that you did for them? Yeah, and it was like the mastermind group started spreading and all that. And so then it was like, okay, like we have an opportunity here to pivot. And then one of those people were digital marketer back in the day. So we showed them Tag Manager, and it was like, all right, like this is the thing. Let's just go full force into that. And that's what brought us, our agency pivoted kind of from training into the doing with build out, differentiating ourselves with CRO, which led us into analytics, which we realized was a huge pain point for a lot of people. So we pivoted again into setting up measurement implementation for individuals. And now we've kind of pivoted out of that a little bit back into our original, which was the training. So we do a lot of training. We still do the done for you stuff, but we do it through our certified measurement marketers and everybody else that we train now to do this stuff, to put it together. So we've kind of come full circle in that way. But yeah, it's been a fantastic journey, and 100% not planned, right? You don't ever show where you are and like look back and be like, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. It's like, I had no idea.
There should be like a form that you have to fill out when you decide that you want to start an agency. And at the bottom, you just have to acknowledge, you have to sign off your life and be like, just so that you know, you're never going to wind up where you really think you're going.
It's so true. We talk about like one of our pillars of measurement marketing, we've got 5. It's like planning, building, reporting, forecasting, and optimizing that we teach, right? And in the forecasting part, we specifically teach that principle, which is, listen, the whole point of your forecast, you're literally planning what your future is going to look like. And part of the planning process is realize the second you start putting this plan into action, it all goes to crap.
Yeah.
Instantly. And then your job is to realize that's going to happen and put a system in place that goes, yeah, of course it's going to go to crap. And here's what we do when that happens, And so you sort of think about that because it's going to happen. It never works according to plan.
Yeah, so I'm a customer of yours. I signed up like 2 weekends ago, and I've been going through, or maybe it was a week ago. I started going through all the courses because I experience exactly what you're talking about, what you talk about on your website, and to all of your clients. It's like we're driving all this traffic, and we have absolutely no idea what the heck is going on. Like I'm getting some leads, it's very sporadic. It's not systematized at all. And I just need to know what the hell is going on,
Right.
Before I spend more money, I want to know like what, the saying is 50% of your marketing works, but you don't know which
half.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what I need before I pour money into this thing. I got to know what the hell is working. So I've been going through the training and it's been really, really good. And I think that one of the biggest things that I've got out of it is that it gives you, what you show people is that you need a different mindset in the way that you approach analytics. It's not a one and done thing, which is like similar with all your marketing stuff. Really, it's a constantly growing and evolving thing that you need to be looking at to be able to get the most out of your ad dollars, or like any part of your marketing. So I really enjoyed the trainings that are inside of measurementmarketing.io. So what do you think is the biggest thing that agencies specifically struggle with when it comes to analytics, tag manager, conversion rate optimization? What's like the big commonality that you see with agencies?
I think, and it's, I'm gonna try to answer this from that word agency, right? So there's funnel builder type agencies and there's traffic agencies and also different agencies do different types of work. I think the one thing they all have in common is they are trying to figure out the story. In other words, they'll come into analytics and they know that it has something to tell them. And they have this belief that it's like staring at the matrix. And if only they understood how to read the matrix, then they would get all the superpowers and be able to dodge
100%,
right?
100%.
And I think there's a lot of that's out there. I was the same way, right? When I looked at this too. So that's just because Google did a not great job in the beginning of teaching people how to use the tool. They would just throw it out there and people would turn it on thinking that was setting it up. And it's a huge difference, right? So you actually have to turn it on, then you have to set it up. It's like the difference between installing WordPress and thinking you've got a site now. It's like, no, of course not. You got to do a landing page and you had to, dish it out and do the CSS and get all the, that's just how it works. It's the same thing with measurement. So turning it on, installing it is not the same thing as setting it up. But when you do go forth and set it up, then if you're a traffic agency, you can better explain how your traffic is impacting results, which is, I think, the hardest thing for traffic agencies, because they probably have that same scenario where every 3 months, like clients are just rotating out because you're getting a client from somebody else because they're saying, yeah, they couldn't prove how things are working. And I just don't think it was doing that well. And I just think I spent a bunch of money, didn't get anything from it. And then your job is to say, well, no, it's different with us. We have this own little style of traffic and this is how we do it. You go, great. And then 2 months into it, you're talking to the client. And they're like, well, we spent a bunch of money on Facebook. And you're like, yeah, and you made a bunch of money. And they're like, yeah, but that was our emails. And you're like, yeah, but that's because we did leads. And it's hard to connect the dots for a client. All they see is a lot of money going out, not directly associated to sales, which is rarely how marketing works. And so I think as a traffic agency, when you're able to measure for that and explain the story to a client, you get to retain them a little bit longer, hopefully a while longer, because you'll be one of the few people that can actually do that. And then if you're a funnel building type of agency, you can explain how the results and how work, what we call results and how, which is, okay, here's how you're getting the sale. Here's what sales you're getting, but here's how you're getting those sales. X amount of people are going to the lander, X amount of people are going to the cart, X amount of people are going through that, or visiting a product detail page and then adding to cart and then ultimately checking out, whatever the flow is, the customer journey that you're trying to measure. Because the beauty of numbers is they always leave, we have a saying, truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. they always leave trends and patterns, and that's predictable. That's like my warm, comfy blanket is a trend. You know what I mean? Like that's my security blanket, because I know that trend will be there, more likely will be there tomorrow, and it's probably not going to be radically altered. Even if it's not their exact form, it's going to be pretty close. So it's something I can kind of rely on a little bit. And so once I understand how my pages perform, I can now start predicting. If I want to make money, I can predict how many people need to go into the top so that it trickles down in this certain way. And so if you're an agency who does both, you get both benefits from a proper measurement setup, because then you can explain, here's how everything works on your site, and here's how the traffic is actually helping. Facebook creates awareness, Google Ads, we retarget to create leads, then your email will come back and close those leads, and this is how it works. And again, you can start predicting out and sending out those stories, which clients will love you for, because finally you can tell them what's going on, and more importantly, very importantly, and this is key, you can tell them what's going to happen next week, or at least approximately what should happen next week. And that's what nobody does. And I don't know why, because it's not that hard. You just got to know your numbers. And then you can start saying, oh, here's what happened last week. And based on that, here's what kind of should happen next week. And then you measure against that to make sure that's still happening. Because obviously markets change, worlds change overnight, as we all know. The world can make some big shifts pretty quickly, but you'll see it in the trends and be able to adjust accordingly.
Gotcha. So I have a positioning question for you. This is more as like, business owner, marketing, positioning question, because essentially what you do is boring. Like, it's like, same with me. Like you and I find it very, very interesting, right?
It's so true.
I think we're very similar in the sense that we love process. We've learned to love operations. Yeah. Make no mistake about it. We love sales, but what you do and what I do is freaking boring. Like the people, it seems like in the marketplace right now, because digital marketing has become, for whatever reason, like a making money fast kind of scheme for a lot of these gurus. We are the antithesis of that. And while we know that
we're the brick and mortar infrastructure, baby.
Yeah, dude, I say that we're the least sexy part of running an agency. But if you've been doing this long enough, you know that we are where you make all the money.
You're going to need it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so, as an owner, because there's some people out here that want to be able to sell what you sell, right? They would love to be able to integrate this, but it's just hard to have that conversation. So what did you do to break through the noise in the marketplace and get at digital marketers, because you don't just work with agency owners, but make what you sell sexy? Because that's part of the thing. It's like, if you don't have some sexiness to what you sell, it's going to be much harder to be able to bring those, is it bees to honey or flies to honey? I don't know. Yeah. It's harder to attract clients if there's not something sexy about what you do. So I'm just curious as to what you've done personally.
It's a really good question. Here's the thing. The one thing I changed that took our trajectory from being like that struggling, like, God, why don't people realize the value here? And I'll give you kind of the before and after. So the before and after was data-driven marketing, was got to know your numbers, was analytics, right? And metrics a little bit, that sort of stuff. And so we went through iterations. We were like, oh, we're going to do seriously simple analytics. And then we thought, well, people want insights. So it's seriously simple insights. And we kept all this different stuff, right? All these different analytics type conversations and words were being used. Yeah. Which was perfect for people that knew they needed that and were looking for that and considered themselves somewhat numbers people, because only those people really want to do that, right? The rest of them are like, I'm just not a numbers person, so they don't even look at stuff like that. So that was kind of the before. Then what we did, and I learned this from Todd Brown, a coaching partner I was in with Todd Brown, where it was, and it wasn't rocket science, it was the unique selling proposition type of thing, but I finally got it through where I'm like, okay, how do we say this without saying numbers, metrics, or analytics? And that's where the term measurement marketing came from. And it was like, we don't worry about numbers or analytics or metrics. And you don't hear me talk a lot about that, at least on the marketing side of things. I try to keep those words out of it, other than the fact that I have to talk about Google Analytics as a product, right? Right. But I try not to talk about that stuff as much as possible. And I try to focus on measurement, because measurement is easy. You think tape measure probably right away. And you're like, anybody can measure. I got a ruler, I can measure. Measurements, anybody can measure. Anybody. So it doesn't have the stigma associated to it. And it took a while to figure that out for me, to figure out what the word was. But it was, how do I say this in a different way that they've never heard it before, where they go, it just gets them to tilt the head a little bit and lean in. And that's what I've been doing with everything that we do since I learned that little trick. which was, again, not a trick, it's just what you need to do, I think. But it's how do you say that so it reaches the same destination, but it does it in a way where it's a blank slate in their head. There is no preconceived notion. It's a whiteboard for them. So you can define stuff. Like if I say, I'm going to help you learn your analytics, instantly, the second I say analytics, you automatically have preconceived notions. And you're probably frustrated by it, and you think about all the times you hated it, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm not that person, but okay, let's do it. And I have to now dig out of that just to get to break even, right? But if I say, hey, let's talk about measurement marketing, we're gonna learn how to measure marketing. You're like, okay, because you have no idea what that is. It's a blank slate. So I get to define it. And then we put in frameworks and we talk about the pillars and planning and building and reporting and forecasting and optimizing. And none of those say analytics and numbers, right? Although ultimately you'll use those tools. So that's kind of what we did over and over and over again by trying to speak about these tools in a way that, and it's to your point earlier where you said we talk about it differently than others do. Yeah. That's why. Because I need to have that conversation with you where you don't have that preconceived notion about what the thing is. So I don't have to de-educate you, right? Or re-educate you to understand what you really need to get to so I can actually have a conversation about the thing. So that's where it's like the frameworks come in, and that's why we talk about finding the story in analytics. That's why we talk about the useful truth. We don't talk about accuracy because that's a rabbit hole, doesn't exist. So we say useful truth because people go, oh, okay, cool, I get that. We talk about trends and patterns, and truth is in the trend, power is in the pattern. People get that, they understand that, and they go, oh, this is how I use this. You know, because in reality, the dirty little secret about analytics, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. The numbers don't matter at all. What matters is the trend of the pattern. And so you can get in there and look at that and be very quickly get in and get out. Like we have a thing with analyzing, you know, people ask this all the time. I just need to learn how to analyze the report. If I knew how to analyze this, then it would be better. I'm like, if you have to analyze your reports, you made it too complicated. You've already lost. Yeah. Like you shouldn't have to. I hate analyzing reports. I need to get into the dashboard and I need to get the hell back to work. Like that's what I care about. So you get in, you get your numbers, you get your actions, you get out. And that's how everybody can do that. It is, and it's not a hard thing, but it is a skill. Right? Just like WordPress is not hard technically, but it is a skill that you need to learn and practice. Same exact thing when it comes to measurement, but you need to come at it sometimes in a way that you've never come at it before, because that makes it easier because there are no preconceived notions. And so that's where I would say was my biggest lesson. And I do that with our products now. I do that with the way we teach now. I do that with everything now. Is I always try to rename it so that I'm having a conversation that's at least starting as close to a blank slate as possible. So if you're doing things like outsourcing, it would be, you know, how do I say this without saying outsourcing? Oh, yeah. Something else where it's like, oh, yeah, it's just, you would use outsourcing to do that, but that's outsourcing is a component of the overall thing that you do, whatever that is.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we do a couple approaches because obviously we do outsourcing. Everybody hates outsourcing. I hate outsourcing. It's like the worst thing. It's the most frustrating thing in the world, but there's no way around it. Yes, we do outsourcing. So we kind of like do the 8 Mile and we're like, yeah, outsourcing sucks. It's the worst thing ever. And we just talk about all the things that are wrong with outsourcing. And then we talk about all the reasons how we fix those problems. You know, but we mainly talk about operations and profitability, you know, and how like, you know, and our audience, this is going to lead me to my next question for you. Our audience, our ideal client, like they're not some buddy who just watched a Ty Lopez video and is like, I have a social media marketing agency now. Right. Like our ideal client has been doing this for a few years and they're frustrated because they're selling more, but it's not generating more profit and they can't pay themselves more, or they've got so many more opportunities out there. And if they just have the right people, they'd be able to take them all on. That's where we slide in and solve all those problems. So in a way, we want to filter out all the people that are just too new for us. And we want to magnetically attract all the ones who are, you know, experienced and have the problems that we solve. So my question, my next question is, you have the, you know, measurementmarketing.io, and then you have your certified measurement marketing partners. When you're training your certified partners, are you telling them that, hey, there is a client that is just too green for you, that you should stick away? Or is there like a best practice on that?
That's a good question. I leave that up to them because some of them are, they're starting out on their own and they want to sometimes just get practice. Yeah. And they will deal with a project, like a lower project, and they might charge somebody $1,000 to do a setup, which is insanely low. Yeah. Now I will tell you, as you know, as all agency owners know, everybody will shake their head and be like, absolutely. Like the more you charge, the better the clients are. All that is 100% true. It doesn't matter. It's just the universal law of how it works. And those projects, they end up like going south and being scope creep and all the other problems that you have with low income stuff. So they very quickly get out of that. But sometimes they will initially do that just to kind of get their feet wet.
Yeah, you need to get some reps. You need some clients.
That's exactly what it is. It's like doing chin-ups. Like they suck, but you got to do them, right?
You gotta,
so same concept. They'll get through them for that reason, but I don't know of any of them that have a specific model that is built for that. I have seen them try. I tried. I was like, oh, we're going to do quick little setups and just set up 3 goals. There's always issues. Like it's cross-domain measurement or the tech that's involved, or there's so many different variables that makes it very hard to templatize, that process. Everybody thinks like WP Curve did, right? Where it was like, oh, I'm just going to do the WP Curve model and, charge $50 a month and then sell to GoDaddy. And like,
it's harder. Difficult. It's way hard, way difficult.
It is. It's a lot more difficult than that. And so they end up going for larger retainers. Some of the agencies that learn it are more, again, traffic agencies that are doing it because they want to just take care of their clients. And sometimes they either sell it to their clients as additional service or just use it to retain clients because now they can explain the story and give them exclusive reports they just can't get anywhere else, like that sort of thing. So they'll do that. And then others have agencies that are just measurement focused, that just set up measurement. And some will have agencies that just work with other agencies that are measurement agencies that work with agencies and white label stuff. So there's different ways of going about it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, it's definitely something that everybody needs. I was just kind of curious as to whether like people have to be open to the conversation. As I was saying, like if you've been doing this for a day, if you've been running an agency for a day, it's not the right time for us. And so I was just kind of curious as if there are like hot buttons that people could listen for that are like a perfect bridge to bring in something like what you guys teach
for measurement. So like, when do I know it's a good client or not?
When do you know it's the right time to introduce this in the conversation?
So when I'm talking to a client, so the thing that starts the overall conversation, and then and we're fortunate because we have the done for you stuff through our certified measurement marketers that we refer out to. Yeah. Then we also have the done with you training where we have instructor assigned to a company to teach them. And then we have the do it yourself level, which is of course the digital components, right? So people just want to learn on their own, they can do that. So the thing that starts the entire conversation, no matter what the level is, and that's kind of how I think about it in my head as a matrix. The thing that starts the conversation is something along the lines, almost always, is it's what I call the curse of a good offer. I've been spending money on Facebook or something, probably Facebook in most cases, spending a bunch of money, making a bunch of money. So I spent more money and I made more money. And then I spent even more money and then I made a lot more money. So I bet the house on it and it was awesome. And then nothing happened. And I'm like, oh my God. And I looked around my company and I asked everybody, hey, what happened? And everyone's like, I don't know. Because not only did they not know what broke, they don't know why it was working in the first place, which is the worst thing, right? That's why I say it's a curse of a good offer, because you don't think about how it's working. You're just glad that it is. That's a problem. And so then they realized to their horror, they literally are in the cave, right? They are in the cave, wandering around in the dark, and they were just lucky they didn't bounce into everything. Now they're hitting stuff, and they're like, how do we get out of this? Enter measurement. And so that's what starts the conversation. If that awareness, there's some sort of paid traffic component in most cases, because if you're just doing it through SEO or whatever, it's not free, but you kind of think about it like free traffic. So measurement's not a big deal. But when you're paying $1, you want to know what happened to that $1. And that's where measurement really becomes more important. So there's that starts it. Then it is 3 levels. And for me, I look at it as, okay, does the company have more have the resources, have the muscle on their team, and then whether it's themselves or a team, right? Do they have the muscle on their team to learn it, and they have the time to learn it, and they want to keep budget low? Then that's do-it-yourself level training. At that point, they come in and create memberships. We have different memberships for some agencies. We have like the Academy for teams or freelancers, right? We have, and all the way down to like people just getting started. So you have all sorts of levels for do-it-yourself, and that's what I recommend for them at that point. The next level up is, okay, I've got a company, I've got a team, for sure, it's a team. So one can be individual through a team, The other one is, okay, if I've got a team and the team, I have the muscle, but they need training. And this is the key point, I want to accelerate the time. I don't want to learn on my own. I need somebody to help me workshop it, keep my team accountable. Then we assign an instructor to them. We have a private guided training program they go through. And we've done that for both agencies and corporate clients alike. And we'll train them how to set their measurement. We walk them through all of our trainings, but we keep them accountable and on task and on focus. And ideally, we're solving problems faster for them than they can otherwise do on their own. So it just kind of accelerates their implementation. And then there's the next level up, which of course is done for you. The big difference with done for you is they don't have the muscle. And that's where it's like, okay, then in that case, if you're not planning to hire the muscle, in-house, right? Then you're going to bring in the muscle through, because there's really only 3 ways to solve it. It's either going to be a system that does it for you, a vendor that does it for you, or you're going to hire somebody to do it in-house.
Exactly.
Right? There's only 3 options.
Yep.
So if they are going to, at that point, say, yeah, we're open to having a vendor do it for us because we don't want somebody full-time or something like that. That's fine, whatever. Then we can have the Certified Management Marketing help out with that. And so they'll come in and we set something up for them, but we sell it specifically for us. We sell it long-term because I never let anybody think this is going to be a project, because those 85% of the time end up going south more for us than the clients, because I'm paranoid about value. So I'll give up money and make the client super happy over and over again, even if I know I'm being taken advantage of, because I know I'm never going to talk to that person again. Right. And I don't ever want that conversation out there of like, oh, we worked with Mercer and his team, but blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you paid half what you should have paid and got 3 times as much. And when you want to come back, I'll be like, oh, actually, we don't do that anymore. Here's this other person that might. Like, I'm super polite, but I learned my lesson years ago to avoid projects. So we do retainers and we focus on clients that work for years. And that's what I tell them. It's like, if you're going to do this, and you work with us, it's totally cool. But we are essentially kind of being treated like part of the team. That's how we want it. And we've got clients that worked with us for 3 or 4 or 5 years now. One almost 6 years, we are literally part of their team at this point, right? And so we just handle their measurement. We handle the tag management. We handle the, working with their other vendors and traffic vendors coming in. They get introduced to us as people that are responsible for getting pixels on pages and developing reports. And then we'll help them kind of guide things as we learn new things, working with other clients, right? Which is a benefit for them, because then they can start seeing like, oh, okay, they've got all this other experience coming in, these different business models that are helping their dashboards get better. So that's kind of the aspect of certified measurement marketing that I like, because it allows the vendor to provide a really good service that's needed out there. And in a perfect world, it's how it should happen, is that there's retainers. It's long-term focus. So you're not, as an agency, if you're just starting out, if you are just starting out as an individual, you can get a couple, 3 clients and have a pretty decent agency. And as you build up, hire more, which we've also had certified measurement marketers do. They've built agencies that are just focused on measurement by bringing in other people, right?
I love it, man. Well, we're out of time.
Oh, that was good. All right.
Yeah, I hate to cut
you
off.
On that note, yes.
Yeah. So on that note, what is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
So obviously the site, measurementmarketing.io. We do have, for anybody wanting to learn this stuff, we have kind of our free level membership. And I'd recommend anybody, even if you're just like, I'm not sure what this thing is all about, just to kind of learn it. It's something called the Toolbox membership. So it has like weekly training that you're able to get access to, covers beginner topics and more advanced topics and some strategy topics, stuff like that. And then we've got a lot of tools that are back there in our toolbox. There's about 40 some odd tools, a lot of them proprietary, but they're available to you completely for free. So just go to measurementmarketing.io/dude, as in read the hat he's wearing right now.
Yes.
So measurementmarketing.io/dude, and it'll take you right to there.
Perfect. And I'm going to tell everybody out there, just sign up for the WIN courses, because that's what we have right now. It's so unbelievably cheap for what you learn. So yeah, I know Mercer's being nice and he's giving you the free link. I'm just telling you, go out there and buy the $97 a month WIN course.
Thank you for that.
No problem.
See, this is what I meant when I'm more like, I need other people saying stuff, right? So, but thank you for that. That is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. And just really quickly, who would be the perfect person to take advantage of that offer today?
So honestly, that particular one, because it's the do-it-yourself digital, is available for anybody who's just starting out as an individual freelancer, all the way up through agencies. There's different levels of memberships. There are some that are for teams, so that you can have more logins, and they have some that have group coaching, some that just have the Ask Instructor support, where it goes back to our instructors. You can send videos and stuff like that back and forth, which is what you have, the WIN Monthly Pass, and that's the beginner level one. But it's a ton of support, because we realize you're going to get back there, watch our videos, be like, okay, I kind of get it, but man, my goal's not quite firing, or I'm not quite sure what this goal should be, and I wish I could talk to somebody about it. You totally can. That's what the Ask Instructor support is. Send over a video or screenshots, whatever. Our instructors, 9 times out of 10, send over videos and screenshots back, help you get unstuck and on the way. So it really is something that, why I built the system we did, is so that it can address no matter where somebody is. And then ultimately, if you do have a larger agency, or, and you really want to focus on something, you can go for a higher level program. But I'd say start out learning the basics, and then we can always jump on a call later.
Love it. All right. Thanks, Mercer. And to all of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in today, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Bye, guys.